All right, so thank you. So we're going to talk about No One Gets There Alone and a few thoughts on community building. Before I do that, just to make you aware that there are a few guys on Twitter who are masquerading as MaidSafe, looking to give away Ether as a scam. So if we were going to do a scam like that, we'd definitely use MaidSafeCoin. So it's not us, so please don't reply to those messages. So community building, so what became apparent in the crowd sale? So back in 2014, in April, actually it was 4 years ago yesterday, believe it or not. And what became clear at that time is the Safe Network is a project that lives or dies by the community that surrounds it. So, and as an internet for the people, by the people, you would expect nothing less. And what's also apparent looking at the forum and just talking to some of you guys is that we're all a pretty varied bunch. We all come from different places, different countries, we speak different languages, we do different jobs, but there are certain things that kind of bring us together within the Safe Network, and that could be attitudes towards data privacy, data security, decentralized technology, and cryptocurrencies as well. And when we're thinking about how we all interact with the Safe Network, we've all got quite different things that appeal to us. So most people in the audience, or many people in the audience, are approaching it with a developer hat on. We've also got people that are interested in the cryptocurrency and the trading part. And also we've got people that are just interested more from an app user perspective, no intention of ever programming, but just interested in the security benefits of what apps can give to them. There are even people in the forum that call themselves crypto anarchists, whatever that means. And there are some of us that are all of those things. So this kind of talk will be really, Sarah and I will run through it, Sarah will kick in at the end. It's more trying to give every one of those types of groups a little something, so hopefully there's something in here for you. So the first thing, or I should nip back and just say, we're going to talk through a couple of main topics. So licensing has been mentioned, but just to go over that. Documentation and developer support, outreach and meetups, and then looking into things like exchanges, as I think was one of the questions that I saw on Twitter this morning. Also a bit about MaidSafeCoin, and then Sarah's going to kick in at the end with our State of the Safe Network Community Report. So licensing. So when I first came to MaidSafe, I didn't really realise how much of an emotive subject licensing was. I mean, ridiculously so. And it was on our board meeting agendas for probably about 18 months. We talked about it every single month. And for us, it was never about what kind of, is it open source or closed source? It's kind of what kind of open did we want? And we also have a tension as well, just to make you guys aware of, we have investors in the company, so we're always thinking about, like many open source companies, how do you monetize, how do you create these revenue streams? So that's always factoring into our discussions. I think it was also, I remember not long after the crowd sale, it was a representative of Open Bazaar, which is kind of like a decentralized eBay, and the guy came on, and I still remember the title of the thread, like in my nightmares. It was, Are You Dead Set in GPL version 3? And it was a thread, man, that still comes up, and it was about 180 posts long, and it went on for months and months. And I don't think it really solved anything, it just pissed a lot of people off, but it just tells you what an emotive subject licensing is, and actually with good reason, because it really defines how we can all use the software that we're building, and particularly when it's a platform, it really does have a huge impact. We've always, or been since 2013, we've been dual licensed. So having a commercial license, which is the sustainability part and showing investor returns aspect, with an open source license. As David says, I'm just kind of happy to reiterate what he was saying today, is that we're going to be removing the commercial license from all the core safe libraries. I think this is really a positive step, and the main reasons for doing it is really to make this much more simple. Like we've always said, we don't want to own this network. We're too small a team to try and maintain it, and it doesn't make good governance sense to have a company behind everything. If you had a company behind the internet, you'll probably get something like Facebook or Google on a worldwide scale, so we definitely don't want that. So we want to encourage third-party contributions and third-party developers as well. And we also want to simplify that process. It's hard enough getting people to contribute to your project, contribute their time and their energy, if you start thrusting legal agreements in their face. So the way we'd have it today would be that they would have to be familiar not only with our GPL version 3 license, but also the MaidSafe commercial license, which is bespoke. So removing that makes things much more simple. So hopefully that will allow us to simplify and encourage third-party contributions. We're also going to be, as David said, removing the contributor license agreement. So this is an agreement that tells the contributor the way in which the code would be licensed back to the project. But of course, if you have, for example, something that's GPL version 3, the assumption is now made that someone contributing to that license is comfortable with their contribution, assuming that license. And it's also within the GitHub terms of service. That's the assumption they make. So this seems to be well understood. And now that we've dropped the commercial license, we'll also be able to remove that. So again, that's another positive step. So what the implications? Oh, I know. We've been hacked. We've been hacked. What's your password, Doug? Is it going to come on? Cool. Thought I was going to have to do some dance moves to the live stream. Nobody wants that. I can hear you. So what this means for developers are if you're building on top of the core libraries, so forking those core libraries, your derivative works must be GPL version 3. I would definitely encourage you to read that license if you're not familiar, but at a very high level, it means that your derivative must assume that same license, which also means you must publish all your source code. If you're using the APIs, and various speakers have done a really good job of going through those today, Nikita, Gabrielle as well, if you're using any of the bindings or the APIs, you're not integrating directly with the core libraries, so you're just making API calls. But as a further reassurance, they will be relicensed to MIT and BSD, so you can do whatever you want. You can license any derivative work however you choose. So just to make that part clear. So now we've covered licensing, and just actually to say, I think David was asking when that would be done. So that's something that's not done right now, but it's certainly something we'll be getting to over the next week or two. So do expect to see that change. And I'm sure you guys will tell us if we don't do it quickly enough. So documentation and developer support. It's something that we've been spending a lot more time on, and you're probably just starting to see the fruits of some of the team's labour now. And this will be ongoing. We're trying to get all the documentation in one place, which makes obvious sense. It's probably the only form of centralization we want right now, but hopefully we can decentralize the hosting of this hub at some point in the near future. I'm not going to go into this in any detail because Gabrielle's done a great job of doing that, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the community for their involvement in that process. So a lot of people we asked, a lot of people listened and contributed and told us what they wanted, and we hopefully fulfilled most of those hopes. And you'll definitely find us quite open to your suggestions in the future. So if we see recurring themes, things that we need to get done, then we will certainly do that. And there's going to be people now. David spoke a little bit as well about how we're bringing new members onto the team. I'd like to introduce a new one now, but before I do that, I was going to say Francis, if you can put your hand up, Francis. So Francis, who you'll all know, came all the way from Montreal to see us. So Francis has been kind of omnipresent for about 4 years or so, and does a great job of doing support. But also we have David Geddes. If you could stand up, David, and just wave. Maybe do a dance, David? Okay, maybe not. So just wanted to say, what I would definitely recommend is speaking to David throughout the course of today and tonight, because David's going to be a kind of main interface for you guys. So good that you meet someone face to face, and so that the online communication thereafter becomes a little easier. David, of course, we chose him because of his name. We've got one David already who we all know, and we've got another couple of Davids on the board, so we had to keep the stock of Davids really high on the team, so that was the focus. But David has a lot of experience. He's been 20 years in and around software, both as a developer and as support. So I think he's going to be a really good addition to the team. He started just this month, and as you can all appreciate, getting his brain around the network is a pretty tough task. So he's been immersing himself already, looking at the support processes that we use and also the tools that we use. So David will be certainly starting to hear a lot more from David in the coming weeks and months as he gets his head around what we think is going to work best. And of course, we'll always do this type of stuff in conjunction with you guys. So if something is working well, we'll do more of it. And if it's not working, we won't do it at all. And David will be working to really improve that experience for everyone. Outreach is another important aspect. So when we're thinking about how the community, the project living or dying by the community, the outreach is a kind of cornerstone of that. And probably MaidSafe have not always been the most outward company because we've always had our heads down in developing. And again, as David was saying in his talk, the fact that we're a bit more outward facing now definitely tells us the network is getting into a place where it's going to be used commercially for sure. And so this DevCon is pretty much good evidence of the fact that we are going to be doing that as a company. And again, hats off to Doug, Sarah, and lots of other people for really making this a good event so far. The goal of outreach is to have dev meetups in every major city in the world. That sounds like quite a lofty goal, and it is, but it's totally possible. Loads of other projects are doing it right now, so why shouldn't we do it? 100% confident that we will. And we're not starting from scratch here. So there's a few people here. I can see Stoney, who's normally camera shy, so don't take pictures, but Stoney was from MaidSafe Asia, so he's put on a really big event for us in Jakarta last year. Other people from all around the world, James Littlejohn's around the back, he's going to be speaking later on. He's hosted a couple of events in London. Recent events in Japan, Kuala Lumpur, Melbourne, and events in Amsterdam. So we only go for glamorous places, of course. And pretty soon Edinburgh as well, less glamorous, but that's because that's where Doug lives. So we'll be having some meetups there as well. And what we're looking to do moving forward is seed these networks in key locations. And again, Doug has started this effort. And this is just going to take a little bit of time. And so some of the things that I'll talk about what we can offer. Some of the things that are more difficult for us to offer in a scalable way as a company is being able to pay meetup organizers. It's not something that we could do on a continuous basis, so we tend to not do that, unfortunately. But there's a lot that we can offer. And so this kind of chart looks through some of those things. So coordination amongst meetup group leaders, which Doug has started that process. And so we can all learn from each other as we're running these meetups. Meetup.com subscriptions for everyone who's joining. It's a great tool to get people involved. And things like presentation slides, meetup content. We've now got, if it's a developer meetup you're looking for, there's lots and lots of tutorials, or certainly 2 tutorials I think that now exist, and we'll be getting lots more. So what we're trying to do is take the heavy lifting away from the meetup organizer. There's still work to do, of course, but a lot of the material that can be supplied by us to them. We can also supply people to do talks. So Spandan, I think, has done a couple recently. He's certainly the cut price guy. If you look, I'm only joking, Spandan. So he's done a great job of doing that. And so it could be, you could want a marketing person on the call. You could want a developer on the call. We'll certainly listen to all these requests and try and help where we can. And also, we've got the tutorials which I mentioned, and also social media amplification, so helping each other. If you're having a meetup, the whole network can get involved in trying to let people know about that. So we're going to kind of finish off this part and just say that if you're looking to hold up meetups, please do let us know, and we'll support absolutely as much as we can. Another thing I was going to talk about, which is a slight segue away from kind of developer type stuff, I suppose, just because it's something that's has been coming up a lot more recently, is exchanges. So holders of MaidSafeCoin, many of us will hold it in this room, and we obviously want options when we're trading. because other exchanges can give us bad service. They can not answer support tickets. They have extortionate withdrawal fees. And so we all want different platforms that we can use. And also, being listed on an exchange can be a great way of raising awareness of a project. So someone can start off as a trader and end up digging a little bit into the technology and actually become an advocate. So there's lots of different uses that exchanges can offer. MaidSafeCoin, as many of you will know, was recently delisted amongst probably about half the coins on an exchange called Bitrex, based in the US, which is coming under a lot of pressure from the SEC. And this can cause liquidity concerns, of course, amongst everyone who holds it. You start thinking, oh, who's going to be next? And so we've been evaluating potential exchange partners, and this is not something that we've jumped into. We could have done quite quickly, but we've not done that because, well, sometimes the fees, we've been quoted fees in excess of £200,000 just to list on an exchange, which really doesn't make much sense, given that that's 2 to 3 months worth of run rate for a company. What would we rather have? 2 or 3 months worth of network and API development, or just to have a coin on an exchange? So we've gone with the network development, of course. And exchange partners we've not rushed into because you guys would have to live with that. So if we go with someone who's dishonest or has a poor security record, then it would impact us all. So I've been looking at this very carefully. But I'm happy to announce that we've reached verbal agreement with 2 exchange partners in Asia. What I won't be revealing today, unfortunately, is who they are. But I obviously will do that in the coming weeks. And we've chosen exchanges. These are not the big exchanges. So if that's your expectation, that's not the case, because of the reason I mentioned earlier about the fees. But what it will be is partners that we believe are up and coming. So they're not looking for exorbitant fees or any fees, and they look like they will aggressively co-market with us, which for us is really what we're looking for. And again, big hand to MaidSafe Asia guys for being instrumental in that process, which is also ongoing. So they've been a fantastic support there as always. But like I say, that will come out in the next few weeks. That's really positive news. MaidSafeCoin is something we want to talk about as well. I'm going to pick on this one just because it's been in the forum a little bit, and MaidSafe have probably not given an official position on it, and we still really don't have one, but I just wanted to make people, even just to comment on it. A lot of people are, if you're not aware, MaidSafeCoin is an Omni token which is listed on the Bitcoin blockchain, and things have moved on since 2014, and there's Ethereum blockchain is the gold standard, I suppose, for having cryptographic tokens. ERC20 token is the popular one just now. And there's a lot of discussion in the forum about MaidSafe should move to this token. And I just wanted to point out there are a number of things that we are considering when we're looking at these. So there's a number of positives, of course, for doing it. ERC20's got a lot more wallets. Some of them are not all by Ethereum. There's third-party wallets on there. Different platforms as well, also for mobile. And Ethereum has things like a more active developer community. The Omni community is not particularly active because they probably lack the funds, or they definitely lack the funds. And with things like when we're looking at exchange integrations, it probably would have been helpful to be ERC20 because they're churning those things day in, day out. And also there's reduced transaction times and fees. So that all sounds fantastic. And if you were starting today, there would just not be a discussion. You would just go for it. There's a number of things that we are considering as well, or we have to take into account. So MaidSafeCoin is a proxy token, as we all know. It's not the end goal. It's just a step toward it. And so to try and then potentially think about adding another coin into this equation makes this more complex. So as we maybe know, when we launch the Safe Network in beta, you will take MaidSafeCoin and exchange it for SafeCoin. But then if we started using ERC20, you'd have a MaidSafeCoin Omni token, a MaidSafeCoin ERC20 token moving into SafeCoins. It definitely makes that much more complex. There's also technical risk. Smart contracts, there's been a lot of horror stories with them. It should be something that you can do okay, but the economic consequences for bugs in your code are severe. And one of the examples recently was the Parity wallet as well. So a lot of ICOs were locked out of $170 million, and slightly worrying, the makers of Parity wallet were locked out of their own funds. So that tells you it's not that simple. And of course, this impacts all on network development. So hopefully what's coming across today is our #1 priority is the network. Delivering the network, programming for the network, thinking about what you guys want. Having to consider a transition at the same time is definitely going to take some emphasis away from that. The last time I looked, there were 13,000 MaidSafeCoin wallets. That's a lot of users that David would have to support. Only joking, David. So that's definitely a factor. So I just wanted to highlight this point because it's not something the company has really got into the forum and answered, but it's definitely a topic that we've monitored and continue to monitor. Speaking to Harman actually from Project Decorum, as many of you will know, he is about to go through this process himself, so we'll certainly be looking to see how that goes as well. So I thought I should address that topic. There was something in there for you. I'm going to hand over to Sarah, who's going to run through the state of the Safe Network community. So it's going to be a brief interlude as we get Sarah mic'd up.
We're on the community forum or the dev forum. We've also got people on Twitter, Slack, Reddit, kind of all over the place. And it's really great to see those people kind of spread across, but also getting support not only from us, but from other members of the community, especially in the dev forum. But now that we've got David, I'm sure he'll be getting there as well. So the community is extremely important to us for a kind of number of reasons. A lot of them are kind of listed up here, but kind of to run and test the network. Because as you can see, the team is great and is growing a lot, but it's not massive, so it's not full.
So as much as the MaidSafe team is growing and we're doing really well, we don't have the capacity to do everything ourselves, so we do reach out for you guys to help us do those things. So we have a lot of people helping us kind of run and test the alpha networks at the moment, which is always great, and the feedback we get from that makes a big difference to the guys on the development side, I know. You can also kind of like help us. There's other people said earlier on, there's some expertise that we just don't have, and if you guys have that and you're more than willing to spend a little bit of time, we'd love to get that code and get you guys contributing because it's really important. And the other things are kind of like build apps. So Gabriel did a great thing of how you can get started with that. If you've got an idea and you really want to, it would be great if you could start building apps on top of it for more people to get involved. And the last one, from a marketing point of view, the community makes a massive difference because Doug and I can't really amplify the message just on our own, especially between Glasgow and Edinburgh. We've not got a great span of time zones or nationalities. So the more people that we can have on those platforms, spreading the word, getting more people involved, tell your friends, your family, your gran if you really want to, get more people involved and get more people on the network, the better it's going to be. So as you know, we're on Alpha 2. If anyone who hasn't been on there so far, there's a great spread of fun apps as well as websites. It's just a kind of variety of them. One of my favorites up the top right there, well, my right, your left, of the spray can. Everyone can leave a wee message. It'd be quite cool if we could see how many people from DevCon we could get on there today, actually, and we can get a screenshot later on. We've got Safe Jams, who I think are doing a little video later on. So we've got some other ones, I think a couple of people speaking later on as well. And there's just such creativity out there. And if you haven't been on there, if you go on the forum right now, there's a list of all the websites that are currently up, as well as some of the apps that are there. So we've seen some great ones so far, but there's also so many more that we could have. So this is a graph of some of the top 20 most in-demand apps that are right now. So it's quite small, I've just noticed that. So I'll give you the brief overview. So there's people looking for some kind of medical app, somewhere we could store medical information. So if anyone knows how to do that, let us know. One of my favorites, the Grand Carnival horse racing app. A lot of people really wanting that one. So, but as you can see, there's a huge spread there of different types of things that people are looking to build on the network right now, and it just shows the spread of creativity that we've got, but also just shows if you've been really inspired by today and you want to get involved, there's so many things that you could do, but there's also so many people out there that would help you do it. So maybe if you've got an idea but you don't necessarily have the skills, I'm sure there's someone that could help you. So GitHub, obviously one of our kind of like main sources of information if you're looking for, obviously all our code is stored there, but also that's where a lot of the information is. So I've had a wee trawl some of the data there, and I thought it'd be quite interesting to show you the amount of GitHub issues that were closed. So we've actually closed some ridiculously large number that I can't remember off the top of my head. It's something like 1,000 issues in the last 18 months. So it just shows if you are struggling, you've got an issue, pop it onto GitHub, and I think Francis does a great job of sorting that. Nobody tells me he doesn't. Okay, somebody does a great job. Someone does a really good job of looking after them and closing them. You just go into the right repository and lodge your issue, and one of the team will be able to, not Francis, someone will be able to fix it for you. I've got 9 separate languages up there, so make sure if it's one of the ones you're involved with, but 57% of all our code is written in Rust, which I thought was quite an interesting little stat for you. Okay, 3 very scary graphs. It's not that scary, I promise. So this is actually the number of new users that have been joining our community forum every month since 2015. So top left there is 2015, 16, and then, and then 18 at the bottom. And I thought it was quite interesting to show this because we've had a great upwards trajectory, but if you actually look in the last 4 months since January, we've had a much higher rate of new members joining the network since January, and we've also managed to kind of withhold that every month from then. So the community forum is somewhere that definitely there's a lot of people going for information. It's a great source of conversation. And it's also just a great source of support if you're struggling to build anything or looking for some ideas or even just some chat. Like I've been on there some days and people are just chatting what they had for, well, not for breakfast, but it's kind of getting there. So if you're looking for a friend, it's the place to go. So we've currently got 2.8 thousand followers, users on there right at this moment, and it's about an increase of about 3% every month since we launched Alpha 2. Some of that is to do with when we ask people to download Alpha 2, they do have to gain a trust level on the network just to stop the network being spammed. But it's been really interesting to look at the kind of spread as well of who these users are. So 63% of them are new users, and then we've got 30% of trust level 1. So those are the people that can download Alpha 2. And it's really interesting for this, I think, because that means 63% of people currently can't download Alpha 2, so are just there for the general conversation, but they are people that could potentially, with a little bit of reading on the network, on the forum, be able to download Alpha 2. So those are the kind of people we need to be targeting to make sure that they can get the support they need in order to download Alpha 2 in the future. So if we look at the community forum and what people are generally talking about, it's quite interesting to see that 11% of people are talking about development. So not only are people on the development forum, they're also on the community forum. So if you're ever looking for an issue, that might be a place to start. And 8% of people are talking about apps. So that could just be people appreciating apps, asking for apps, demanding new ones, or kind of helping each other. So I know some of the team that are speaking later on have been able to use the network to do a lot of testing of the apps that they've produced. Obviously, 14% of people are asking Doug and I to do some more work, because it's 14% of people looking for marketing advice. So I don't know if you guys have seen this on the forum, but we relaunched the community engagement program in January after quite a successful pilot last year. And we went out to the community and asked that if someone would be able to create us a video animation to explain SafeCoin. And we got an amazing response from different people. And eventually we managed to pick Hypercube, and the community helped us raise enough money to pay them. We actually raised enough that we demanded from Hypercube that we got 2 videos. But I'm quite pleased to say that this is the SafeCoin video, and we should be able to show you it for the first time today. And you can all let me know whether you like it or not.
The internet has made the world a better place. Or has it? Today's internet user spends most of their time and money on a small handful of websites, giving enormous power to a few corporations. These companies make billions by centralizing and aggregating our personal data and selling access to advertisers. Decentralization promises to create a safer and fairer internet. But if that promise is ever to be realized, it should reward everyone that contributes to the data economy. Introducing SafeCoin. It's not just another cryptocurrency. In fact, it doesn't even use a blockchain. SafeCoin is the incentive mechanism behind the Safe Network, a powerful system for keeping personal data and identity private and secure. SafeCoin allows anyone with a computer to be rewarded by providing unused resource to the network. Developers on the network also get paid in SafeCoin according to how much their app is used. All payments on the network are handled automatically by the system without any human interaction to ensure equality and fairness. SafeCoin transactions are not viewable on a public ledger, and only the previous and current owners are known by the system. Transactions are confirmed instantly with no transaction fees, while multi-layered encryption provides additional security. Instead of paying a giant corporation for storage on a centralized server that can be hacked and censored, users of the Safe network can rest easy, knowing their data and identity are secure, while contributing more fairly to a worldwide community. SafeCoin will become the world's currency for security and privacy. Join our community today.
Take that as a good one. Okay. So that's the first of 2 videos that we've currently got going on the CEP. And hopefully the next one will be out in the kind of near future. Obviously we've been a bit busy doing this, so it's been on the back burner, but I'm sure we'll get to it as soon as we can. But I did want to use this opportunity to say that the next CEP could definitely be coming soon, and we'd like the community to kind of use the forum to lodge ideas for that and kind of get together to decide what you'd like next. We're thinking, So yeah, it's kind of thanks to the generosity of the community that we managed to get this project off the ground. So we kind of want to say thank you everyone that's here and on the live stream for letting us do that. And we hope that we'll be able to see some really exciting projects coming out in the future. It's changed on this one, but not on that one. Okay, so we're just going to move on to talk about the development forum, which obviously we've been talking about a little bit today. There is not as many people on there at the moment, but we'd really like to see that grow, especially with David now joining the team. But one thing I really wanted to show from the development forum, once I have a graph, is that we've had kind of a steady number of posts every month since we launched the development forum. But what's really nice to see is that there's been a really large increase and a really large number of people that are responding to those posts. And I think that's both from the internal development team here at MaidSafe, but also actually the community developers helping each other. And I think that's what's really great about our community, is that you're not scared to help each other, you're not scared to ask questions. And then when there is a question, even if everyone doesn't know, everyone kind of chips in a little bit. And eventually we do kind of see those like big rises in the statistics of the number of people viewing those posts, but as well as replying. And it just kind of shows that we're kind of all in this together. And there's always somewhere that we can go to ask for those. and there's the graph to show what I've just said. Ta-da! So the blue one is posts, which you can see is fairly static from last August until this month. But there's been the red is the replies, which I think is just a huge number of people comparative to the number of posts that's there, actually helping each other and actually making a point to like go out of their way to make answer someone else's questions. Has everyone seen this graph for long enough? Okay, so the development forum, the kind of categories that we're looking at, again, kind of reiterating the point I just made before, is we've definitely got a huge support side on that, and I think now with David that's even going to get even better. But also APIs and kind of the general chat. A lot of that's to do with like general questions of like, how do I do this? I've kind of got halfway along and I've got a little bit stuck. And the great thing is to see that not people are asking those questions, but they're also getting them answered and being able to move on to create those apps and start doing some of the development work, which is really nice to see. Okay, so next one is social media. It's a bit more up my marketing avenue. So from this graph, you can see this is the number of followers. So Twitter is our biggest kind of like following base, but that's just the kind of the platform in general. It's normally kind of big numbers. We've got about 56,000 people on Twitter right now, so please join us in those conversations. We have the hashtag #SafeNetwork, where we see a lot of our conversations on a day-to-day basis, and that's where a lot of our news sometimes is. Followed by the Safe Reddit and obviously the forums at the far side. So please kind of join us on those groups, but this is definitely not a definitive list, and we have people across all kind of platforms, and I think it's the perfect opportunity to say thank you to the community members who spend their free time moderating these forums, these platforms, because we just don't have the time to do them or the expertise in some cases, especially Frances, a lot of the places, and just across the board, it's been really great, so thanks. So this is just a little bit about our YouTube channel. So we do have a lot of people on our YouTube channel right now. We've got about 60,000. I can't remember the number. I'll get back to you on that one. But we have about 220,000 minutes watched, which is far above average for the kind of our industry, and an average watch time of 2 minutes and 28, which is far above the YouTube average of just under 2 minutes. So this is where a lot of our content is kind of moving towards at the moment, and Doug and I are doing a lot of work to create more video content. So it'd be good to hear what kind of videos people are looking for and what would be useful to you guys. Something else we have to mention is the fantastic array of translations we get, which we just could not do ourselves. So like, just to go briefly over it, we've got Bulgarian, Dutch, French, Swedish, Hebrew, Spanish, German, Slovenian, Vietnamese, and Korean on this one video alone. So I think it just proves to show the giant geographic spread that we've got with the community, but also the fact that people are putting in the work to create those translations so that other people can access the services as well. So quick kind of case study on the Reddit. So I don't know if most of you will notice that we archived the MaidSafe subreddit in January, and we moved exclusively to the Safe network with the help of Frances. And just wanted to kind of like pull out a few things of the reason we did that and kind of how it's going so far. So really it's a kind of part of a concentrated effort that the marketing team have been taking to move towards kind of safe network branding, because as a few people have said, this network's not ours, and we didn't want to keep the Reddit based under the company name. We wanted to kind of give it back to the community, and the safe network's far more important than that. So we've been kind of trying to concentrate all the marketing from a safe network point of view. And we'd kind of like the community to try and help us do that as much as possible. So we kind of push the Safe Network brand. As you can see with your hoodies, they do all say Safe Network on them. So that's kind of the way we're going. So far, it's been quite successful. And we do have some people on the subreddit. They're a great bunch that are there, but they're probably small in number. So if anyone who is a big Redditor, please drop in there because there's some really great conversations. And I think that's me. You want questions?